Welcome to Golf Industry Guru and the Gig Podcast, where we interview the best and brightest golf and hospitality leaders on the planet. On today's episode, you will learn some proven real-world solutions that'll help you and your team solve some of your biggest golf business challenges. So stick around for some tips, tools, and training to get you, your people, and your business powered on. Here's your host, James Cronk.
Well, hello, Golf Industry Guru members, and it is time for another podcast, and I am thrilled because today I get to speak with my very good friend and the legendary Andrew Wood. And Andrew, normally this time of the year we'd be in some far-off place, in some bars somewhere, talking about the golf industry and all of the challenges. But after this year, who'd have guessed it? Who'd have guessed that a pandemic would create the demand that's happening in the golf world? And the only bad thing, or one of the many bad things, for goodness sakes, is that we're not flying off to some beautiful location with a beach. So I'm excited virtually on our podcast today to have Mr. Andrew Wood. Andrew, welcome to the Gig Podcast.
Hey, James. Nice to be here. And despite the coronavirus, I will tell you that I have managed to sneak in 21 states and 11 countries this year.
Well done. Well done. Someone's traveling. That's fantastic. And what are you finding when you're in your travels? I know you were on your cross-country tour of playing golf and driving through the states. What was the highlight of that?
So this is kind of interesting because normally I go to Europe. Normally I start my summer with 5 rounds of golf at Pine Valley. This year I would have played my 100th round at Pine Valley, but unfortunately that was canceled. And I couldn't go to Europe. And so instead, I took my Corvette and I planned a round America golf trip in June and July. I did 10,657 miles and visited 21 states, starting in Florida, going across Texas, over to California, up to Bandon Dunes, across Oregon, and back down. And it was interesting.
I bet it was interesting. And besides the fact that we're all envious of the life that you lead, you're like the traveling golfer and the traveling magnet. What was the highlights of your trip?
Well, I tell you, a couple of things. First of all, Lajitas, Texas. There's a golf resort down there right next to Big Bend National Park. The other side of the river is Mexico, and for the record, there's no wall anywhere in sight. You just swim across Mexico, although I think most of the people are swimming the other way, but these days, who knows? And unbelievable golf course down there. Really, really special place. If you've never been there, highly recommend it. The other special place, 2 other special places on the trip, and I went to a lot of great places. I was at Pebble, I was at Bandon Dunes. 2 places up in Oregon really impressed me. One was Tethero, which is a great resort in Bend, Oregon. And then I went out to Sylvie's Ranch, amazing place, 146,000 acre cattle ranch with a golf course that plays forward one day and backwards the next day.
Oh, I love it.
They have an extreme 9 holes of golf, and your caddy's a goat.
I love it. So did you have to tip the caddy?
You tip the caddy in peanuts.
And peanuts. I like it. What a great experience. That sounds like a very fascinating property. And were they busy? Were they the demand was through the roof for goats? Are they running out of goats?
They only have 2 goats, that for the extreme 9 only, but it was good. But what was interesting, James, is as I went across the country, how different each state was reacting to COVID. I'm so lucky. I'm in Citrus County, Florida. We've had very few cases. We were locked down in May, and it's normal here. Nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody's social distancing, and they haven't been since May. Get up to Arizona. I was in Tucson. Denny's was closed. For God's sake, if Denny's is closed, the world's coming to an end. You couldn't get breakfast anywhere. The restaurants had shower curtains between the tables. The tables were 20 feet apart. It was very interesting. how different each state was in dealing with. California was terrible, very well. I mean, I say terrible. Obviously they're dealing with the pandemic, but very strict. A lot of stuff closed. But the golf courses were packed. My buddy John McNair runs 18 golf courses down in California. You can't get a tee time. I mean, for some people, as bizarre as it seems, COVID has been the savior for a lot of people in the golf business.
It's amazing, isn't it? Who'd have thunk that a pandemic would be the thing that turns around at least the demand or the rounds of golf? And so, what do you think it's going to continue, Andrew? What do you think? I mean, you have of all the people that I know in my travels, see more golf properties around the world than anyone that I know. And so, what do you think is going to be the in the next few years this demand for golf? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it depends very much on how the properties react, because on the one hand, you're seeing a massive increase in daily fee play. You're seeing a massive increase in memberships. But at the same time, I was at several high-end properties where, to me, it seemed very much like they were milking it. In other words, you went there, they were high-end properties in different places I went, private clubs, hotel and resorts that were very, very busy with one guy in the pro shop, one person in the bar. They essentially, at one resort I was at, they weren't cleaning the rooms. If you were there for a week, you got a week's worth of garbage. And I mean, obviously, people are taking precautions for COVID, but it seemed very clear to me that in a lot of places, they were using COVID as an excuse to charge full membership dues and run a skeleton staff and save 80% of their overhead. And I think continue to do that, there's going to be a backlash to it. People are not going to pay a high amount of dues for massively reduced services. And I'm not talking about reducing services because they've told you to shut down the bar or something. I just mean across the board, not everywhere, but some of the places it was very obvious that they'd gone above and beyond, primarily to cut expenses, not to comply with whatever the COVID regulations happen to be. So I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly, I think when people talk about the demand, I mean, I know of lots of golf courses where they charge an annual fee for their membership. It's an annual pass. And normally, let's say their regular green fee rate for the public is $100. But their pass holders are playing, twice as much as they would normally play. And so their revenues, their rounds are way up, but their revenues are down. And they're not able to capture the public golfer or the traveling golfer, the tourist golfer that generally pays the highest fee, that also eats in the restaurant. Instead, what they've got, they have their regulars, which are valuable, but they're playing twice as much and they're bringing their own sandwich. So it's not so straightforward for everybody that they're putting money in their pockets.
Well, no, for sure, because there's also those clubs that relied heavily on weddings, or golf outings. I mean, I know courses where they run literally 2 golf outings a day all season long. So obviously, it's not the same for everyone. People that rely on weddings, golf outings, and there are even those clubs out there, although they're few and far between, that actually make a profit from their F&B, from their dining. And so, for sure, not everybody's, benefiting from it. But I mean, I think if you look at the numbers across the industry overall, there's definitely a benefit. And, those people that are losing out to annual pass holders, it's like anything else. It goes back to the devil in the details with how many rounds they can play on that pass, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think, I agree with you. I think that it's going to be a question about how greedy people get. So I think that at least in the markets that I've been talking to, people are talking about increasing their membership prices for 2021. They're talking about taking their rates up. I'm not sure if the demand. I mean, what from a customer standpoint, Andrew, what do you think were the factors? obviously there's social distancing. There's the fact that golf was acceptable to be played in most places after the season opened up again. People working from home, so they get to play more golf. But do you think that there was a lot of newer people coming to the game, people that had just given up the game for a while that couldn't do other things, people had more time on their hands, a factor of all those things? What would you chalk it up to with regards to this resurgence of demand?
Well, there was the 10 million Americans have golf clubs in the garage that hadn't been used in a long time. So I think the vast majority of the extra play is people that have played before that maybe went back out again because they can't go to the gym. Or they can't play baseball or soccer, where all those group activities were canceled. NFL, hockey for you guys up there, eh? And so all these things are canceled. So what is left? They just canceled golf again for a month in the UK. You can't play golf in England. I think Scotland didn't, but it's insane. And the other thing that's insane is how the rules were so different from state to state. It was just, or even country to country, but. I think that that's the thing is there was so few things you could do. Golf was one of the things you could do. That's it in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly wasn't because the golf clubs all of a sudden became good at marketing. Hello.
Well, I know how positive you are about the marketing that's done by the golf industry in general. And so let's talk a little bit about that. So what do you think a club should be doing this? Right now we're recording this podcast in November 2020. So what do you think some golf courses should be doing over the next few months from an operation standpoint, from a strategy standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, that would help them make sure that they don't lose this growth that they've seen?
Well, I think the first thing you do is you go back to the simplest thing you can possibly do always, which is grow your database. And, more so than ever, people are not doing that because they're saying, oh, I can't put somebody out on the first tee, or I can't do this or can't do that. But, you got this added traffic. If you don't get that guy's email address one way or another, either by your online tee time or in person, then he comes, he goes, he comes and goes. So certainly a significantly increased effort one way or another to get data from the new players is number one for a daily fee, of course. The other thing, to me, it's absolutely insane. When I look, the stock market went up again today, 300 points. It's like, you got 7 million people in the U.S. unemployed. The unemployment in Britain, I know, is huge too. What happens when this bubble bursts? I don't even know what's fueling it. When all of the money runs out, then what? And one of the strategies I think private clubs should be using is I think private clubs should be really, really aggressive in going after business owners, and not just in going after them, but in helping them, but in putting together a program where they send out letters. Hey, Joe's a carpenter. If anybody at the club needs carpentry, please consider Joe before you call anybody else. Hey, Fred here sells cars. If you need a new car, contact Fred before you go. I think clubs need to become much more proactive in, every club says, oh, yeah, golf's good for business. Yeah, okay, golf's good for business. We get it, James. How is it good for business? What do you do to help your members increase their business? You know what the answer is at 99.9% of clubs? Nothing. They do nothing. So I'm saying, do you have a place where you can you promote people's businesses in the club newsletter? Hey, this week, the business of the month is Joe's truck sales, is Fred's gardening center, is Joe the chiropractor, So
That's a great idea.
I think this is a huge thing because you're going to find at some point, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, the whole thing's going to blow up, and there's going to be tons of people unemployed. Or look at the small business owner that's had his business, his restaurant decimated, or his, you got to help this guy stay involved in the club. You got to promote the businesses of the people that are in your club. You've got to promote it on your website, promote it on your Facebook page, promote them in your newsletter. Let these club members know and make the club a networking place. It's like, if you're going to join this club, you may have existing relationships, Jim, with accountants, with lawyers, with doctors, with chiropractors, with dentists. But if you don't, all we ask is please consider doing business with a club member first. There's a directory on the website. Go find the dentists. We have 3.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Really get aggressive in making the club a business hub. It's really the best strategy I have from this whole Corona thing, because you're going to come off a high, and at some point you're going to go back to a low, and you're going to go back to a low because there's 7 million people who don't have a job. In Massachusetts, they're saying 30% of the restaurants will never reopen. In England, the pubs, which have been locked, there's like 40 pubs closing every day, will never reopen. So, you got all these people hurting. Make the club a place where they can get referrals, where the community supports them. And I think that's a really strong strategy. Make justifying their club membership. Hey, how many patients do you have to get if you're a chiropractor to justify your $3,000 a year?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So I think that's a big thing, because you're going to see at some point a really negative event, when all this stimulus stops and all these people realize that, no, buddy, you're not furloughed. We fired you.
Yeah, we can't, or we can't afford, or we're downsizing, or the commercial real estate business with the number of people now and businesses that are looking at, why are we paying $20,000 a month to house our 100 people when they can all work from home for 3 days a week or whatever it might be. It's going to be a different economy, a different world.
You're going to see a massive bailout of commercial office space. Massive. Unprecedented. And, with any of the, what's happened is COVID just increased, it turbocharged changes that were happening anyway.
Mm-hmm.
In every industry, it turbocharged them, because there was more automation, there was more people working virtually, and it's just turbocharged all those effects. And like any change in technology or change in society, there'll be a benefit at some point, but there's always a lag. And I think, golf courses need to step into that lag. They need to be the place that's helping the little guy get back on his feet, and providing a community of support, if you like, for not just a resource for him to relax, but actually providing a resource for him to survive.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. And I think that, when you think about some of the clubs, and obviously there's clubs run well and clubs don't run well. And there's clubs that have rules and policies. And, there's lots of clubs that would say that it's against our rules or our policy to do business within the walls of the club. But I think what you're talking about, which is a great idea, is that, we have to change. We have to change the way we do things, or else we're going to die. Things have to progress. And whether it's in the public golf domain or the private club domain, you got to adapt, obviously. And I think COVID has given a lot of the businesses an opportunity to look at everything that they're doing and to figure out how they can do it differently or do it better, or be more efficient, get rid of the low-hanging fruit, all those other types of things. Would you say from a golf, in your travels around at least America this summer, did you see enhanced customer service? I know we talked about kind of, the clubs are cutting back, but did people seem more interested in welcoming you into the golf shop and taking your money, or was the complacency, or was the lack of engagement evident?
Well, you're right. Things do change in the golf business about quicker than a wounded snail. No, I would say the general attitude, there were some exceptions, unbelievable reception at Lahidas, unbelievable reception at Tethero, unbelievable reception at Sylvie's. There were places where I had a great reception. French Lick had a great reception there. I would say the vast majority of the places that I visited, were massively understaffed. Because they were massively understaffed, how can you give good service? That's not, you can't run on a skeleton staff and improve service.
No.
So, I didn't see, and not just then, but also, not just going around America, but also this year playing other places, although my home club Princes do an excellent job over in the UK. But they're in a little bubble too. They're on a private estate on the ocean. And, it's a wonderful place if you've never been there. It touches Royal St. George's.
Okay.
And they weren't running on a skeleton staff. All the usual faces were there, and things were great. But the vast majority of places that I've been, are really running on a low level of staff.
So from a marketing standpoint, Andrew, and from, golf course owners and operators, I read all your stuff. I'm always fascinated by your opinions, and I love the fact that you have passionate opinions about what should be done and shouldn't be done when it comes to marketing. I've known you long enough, and I've read enough of your stuff to know that you know what you're talking about. And so tell me, where are you now today with regards to things like Facebook or obviously growing database or the emails. And we've talked before about letter campaigns, and we've talked before about, sales scripts and all kinds of things. Well, what of the places, your clients, or of the places that you think are doing a great job, what are some of the best practices being used right now for clubs in a marketing standpoint?
Before I tell you that, I'm going to go back to service. I was just trying to think, I had dinner at Pebble Beach with 5 friends.
Nice.
And I picked up the tab, was about $600. And it was undoubtedly the worst service I've ever had in a restaurant in my life. At Pebble Beach, overlooking the 18th hole, was just shocking.
It is shocking, isn't it? Imagine if you just paid $450 to play golf there, whatever they cost now to charge to play Pebble Beach, and you were sitting there getting bad service.
Yeah, no, it was just shockingly poor. But anyway, so back to your other question. I have been down on Facebook for a long time, at least as an organic way to communicate. It's basically not that great anymore, because they've gone from showing your posts to 36% of your fans to 18% to 6% to 1%. And by their own admission, at some point won't show it to anybody unless you pay. However, I've never been down on Facebook as an advertising vehicle, as a way to drive traffic to a landing page or to an event. I've never said that doesn't work or isn't working. It's just the cost of doing that has gone from about 25 cents to $1 to $2. Here's the good news. Again, crazy, but COVID related. Number one, all the big companies have bailed from spending money on Facebook. Why spend money for a cruise line or Disney or American Airlines when you're not in business, right?
Right.
So because of the massive amount of ad spend that's gone away, the cost of an ad has gone down. There's not this massive demand for Facebook ads from the big major companies. I've just ran a campaign. Well, I run in a campaign now for a course in Florida, and we picked up 1,500 opt-ins for $300. Now, you could easily have paid $3,000 to do that 6 months ago. So we got 1,444 opt-ins for $300. I just did a campaign outside the golf business, and we picked up something like 4,000 opt-in for $750. That's great spend. The other thing I will say is that because so many people are working from home, people are spending a massive amount of time not working.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I've always worked from home, so I have the discipline to do it and put in a 12-hour day, no problem. But that doesn't mean I don't I was watching the Masters before you interrupted me. Tigers. But, people are spending more time online. And so the Facebook posts right now are getting more engagement and more comments, not because Facebook suddenly became benevolent, but because there's so many more people online wasting their time So right now, I would say you've got a real window of opportunity to use Facebook, drive people to your landing pages, to your contests, give away a free round, give away a free membership, give away a free dinner, whatever you can do. Great time to do that and build your database very, very cheaply. And secondly, because there's so many people online, post more often. Most people don't post often enough. I mean, Facebook say the optimum is 4 times a day. I see nobody posting 4 times a day except me. So increase the number of posts, increase your ad spend on Facebook, use this opportunity that you've been given to increase your database. The other thing that I've been big on for a long time is creating your own private network and getting people off Facebook. Now, this is not easy. It's hard work, and most people don't want to do it. I have a few of my own networks. I have one, a personal one called lifewelllived.expert, which is kind of like a combination of Facebook and a blog. And it's got 1,300 members. I launched one with my friend Linda Pirelli that's a paying one that's got over 800 members in 6 weeks. And I've got one in the golf business, golfoperatornetwork.com. But these private networks, especially at a private club, you should be getting your people off Facebook groups, and get them on something you have complete control over, where all 400 of your members will sign up. The engagement we're getting on the horse site is unbelievable. But I mean, and then, just imagine this is a golf club with 800 members, right? The engagement we're getting from the membership, I mean, I'd say 65 to 150 members every day, post comments, questions, help each other, compliment each other. It's a really thing that I feel very strongly about. Very few clubs will do it. It's a lot of work to migrate people from Facebook over to your own private network. If you're a private club, it's a no-brainer. You should do it. If you're only fee, it's a little more difficult, but still. That's something I think is huge. And, you might as well have 400 people who are actually communicating and interacting with you than have 4,000 people that are essentially ghosts.
Yes, exactly.
So that's a big thing. The other 2 big things is content marketing, very big on content marketing. But, way too much of the golf business is offer with no real content. People, I see it coming out more now. The RNA are saying golf is healthy. Oh, gee, they just figured that out. Isn't that great? I mean, I've been promoting health and weight loss and this stuff for 10 years.
Yes. Well,
now all of a sudden it's topical, but you should definitely be doing that. And then the other thing, and this is something that, it's so simple. Why don't people do it? So my club up in Florida, in the Panhandle, where I saw a bear when I was playing there last week.
A bear? A black bear?
Florida brown bear, yeah, black bear, yeah. So they're in an Audubon Society golf course. It's all swamp and trees and really beautiful. It's all natural, right? And they got big signs, don't feed the alligators. And there are alligators. And I said to them, they go, what's the best thing we can do? I go, buy a statue of an alligator and put it on the first tee. What's going to happen? Every single group that comes by from out of town, it's Florida, they're going to ham it up next to the alligator. They're going to take a picture. They're going to tag it. They're going to post it on Facebook. And, if you're filling the course up, you've got 144 people a day doing your marketing for free. And that goes for everybody who nobody hires me when they're doing well. Everybody hires me when they're oh shit. The thing is, nobody wants to take responsibility for internal marketing. How good is the experience? If people aren't taking pictures of your food, there's something wrong. If people aren't taking pictures of your golf course, there's something wrong, right? You want people to be taking pictures at every, it's like, the range, there's nice, big, flat range, boring. The targets are tiny. Put out an old car on the range. My buddy's in Europe. My buddy's got a driving range in Europe. He bought 3 Chieftain tanks for $10,000. Tanks.
Yeah.
Range revenue went up 30%. Nothing else changed. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
creating that wow factor at your club is more important than any of the other stuff I've talked about. That wow factor where your members and players are, it's like having a goat as a caddy. Who's not going to take a picture of the friggin' goat?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Or down in Lajitas, it's kind of a cowboy town. They got shooting, they got horses, they got a saloon. It's like every kid's dream. Didn't you watch cowboy shows when you were a kid? Right? You can be a cowboy and play golf on the most amazing golf course.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. It's great stuff, Andrew.
Wow factor, got to have it. And, and you got to have it at every part of your operation. Like I said, the easiest thing to do is to see if people aren't taking pictures, it ain't working.
Well, I would say that, and I remember seeing your presentation at one point somewhere when you were showing pictures of all these wow factors of so many golf clubs and restaurants and facilities around the world. And it's a fantastic example of real world examples of wow factors. And that's what we should be doing. And reminding everyone that we're in the entertainment business. We're not just in a whacking a white ball business. That's for sure. Great stuff, Andrew, as always. Thank you so much. I mean, I loved I really liked your idea about the business club aspect of a membership of a club and helping members get through these challenging times and making sure that you're finding ways that every member can see the benefit and value of being part of the club. I think that's a fantastic piece of advice, and many others today. So always great to have you on. You are the legend of marketing in the golf industry and beyond now as you're expanding your circle even more in the horse industry and whatever else you're going to be putting your hand to. But great to have you on Golf Industry Guru, and look forward to future conversations.
Okay, and if anybody wants to check into any of the stuff I've talked about, they can find my books at andrewwoodinc.com. And a lot of the things I talked about are in my new golf marketing manual, which is over 600 pages of ideas and insights.
Well, the Golf Marketing Manual is the go-to book. I mean, I remember reading all of your stuff, Andrew, over the years, and the amount of information that you give away. If someone can't pay for that 100 times over, they're not reading it. There's no doubt about it. They're not reading it, or they're not doing it. And I think you and I have lots of conversations about complacency in the industry, but there's no excuse for not taking the good advice from Andrew's materials and increasing the business at your club. So thanks so much, Andrew. We look forward to future conversations, bud.
Great. Thanks, James.
Thanks for listening to the Gig Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and mostly that you learned a few things that will help you improve your business. Join us next time as we continue to bring you the best and brightest golf and hospitality leaders on the planet. Thanks for listening.